What is going on? Y'all already know it's your boy Morbius, and it's Tuesday, so that means another episode of Comic Relief. I'm excited today, of course, because I'm always able to hang out with you guys, hang out with the homies here, and chop it up on something that, you know, people don't really like to chop it up on. And today is a great topic. Can't wait to get into it. So you know what? Let's get this started. What is going on?
What up?
It's good, Skeme. Pleasure as always have you on here. It's been a while, so it's good to see you. How you been, my brother?
Always excited to be on here.
That's what's up, man. I'm always excited to have you on, brother. It's always a pleasure, of course, to have you on. And yeah, man, I'm excited today, man. Today's another day, episode 62, season 2. It's crazy, man. We on season 2 here. You know, we trucking along over here. We trucking along, you know, and I'm excited. We got people up in the building hanging out with us. We got people in the chat. I'm excited about that. Before I continue real quick, I do want to say to my little daughter, hi, Lily. Love you, little monkey.
Hi, Lily.
And yeah, man, I'm excited. We got Sove here hanging out with us. Speaking of Sove, why don't we bring this brother in? Because he's in the background, in the cut, chilling as always. What's up, brother?
What's going on, my friends? How's it going?
Chilling, man. How you doing?
How's it going, Skeme?
What's up?
Not too much, man. Chilling on a Tuesday.
Right.
It's been a while to actually have both you brothers on here. So I'm excited to chop it up with you guys again, man. You know, and it's a great topic. Of course, we're going to talk about, actually, if not, let's just go into just a topic real quick before we head to the chat. We are going to be talking about, you know, should we have politics? I did say comics in the IG, but I actually meant MCU. Should we have politics in the MCU? You know, yes or no? You know, and before we do that, let's get into the chat. Let's see who's hanging out with us. Of course, as usual, we got the homie Unruly Simeon. How you doing, my brother? Appreciate you hanging out with us as always. And of course, we got one of my wrenches in here, John, Comics with Kids. What's up with you, brother? Appreciate you hanging out with us. And of course, we got the lady of Comic Relief, Moonlit Comics, Michelle. What's going on, sis?
What up?
Glad always to have you hanging out with us. I know you're always busy, so I appreciate you hanging out with us today. And of course, we got jumped on me. Hold on, chat just jumped on me. And we got, of course, Big John, Daddy in the building. What's going on? Appreciate you, brother. And yeah, man. I mean, guys, it's Tuesday. I'm excited. Before we get this show started, you already know. I don't know if Sove, if you had a chance to grab something to drink. Yes, sir. That's my dude. Let's get into it. Y'all already know the routine. Cheers to everybody. Yeah. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Let's get this baby rolling, man. So, yeah, I mean, as you know, these past few months, even years that's been going by, these last, I would say, maybe 2-3 years, you really see a lot more influence of politics in the movies and now in these, you know, Disney shows, where we start to see a lot of polarized ideas, should I say, you know, in these shows and in these movies, where you have really, you know, conversations that, you know, you wouldn't really see in your traditional comic books, in the sense that these topics wouldn't be relevant to what's going on. But of course, you have the reality of comic books, you know, that associates itself with the reality of the world we live in, you know, here. Because of course, we have a lot of that in the books. You know, I mean, you had so much politics involved in comic books throughout the history of comic books. Yes. But it tends to kind of like lean today, the way where I'm seeing it is sort of like leaning towards almost like, you know, I hate to say the word, but agenda, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of going in a direction where it's no longer being something that can even be debated. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's being force fed. And I think that's the problem, you know, not the problem. I say that's probably the issue that I probably would have with it, that it feels force fed and it doesn't feel like, you know, it doesn't just flow with things. It's not even right, really conducive to the storyline. It's just something where things are being said, and it feels a lot of times like they're throwing jabs at certain parties. You know, it could be political parties, it could be even down to gender roles. You know, it's getting like really to a point where it's like, okay, it's time to pull back and really start analyzing this and really see like what's really going on with this and why are we injecting this so abruptly, now. And because like if you like people are really up in what you say with She-Hulk, I mean, people are like really like losing their shit with She-Hulk now, and I really could understand, because She-Hulk, to me, in my opinion, was not written for me, like in the sense of my demographic. You know what I mean? I don't think it was written for our demographic in the sense on this panel, and that's my take on it, guys, my opinion. And I'm looking at it from that perspective, because I'm trying to figure out, I love this character, She-Hulk. There's so much that goes on it, and I agree with a lot of stuff in the show. I love where they were taking it, but then you have those little, injections of like politics and agendas, and you're just like, why? Like, why are you, having what's the point of this? And to do it with something that is like got nothing to do with this. You know what I mean? It's like, let's just stick to the comic books. Let's just and have fun with this, and just let But when you want to make something where the demographic people who read comics, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's true right there. It's like the demographic of people who read comics, basically. But I get what you're saying, but to me, it's just, I don't know, man. I'm not. It's hard for me to really, because I don't want to get too complicated with it. I really want to try to keep things simplified as possible without complicating it too much, because I know how, it could really go left when you're trying to just talk about a basic subject, but I'm trying to stay like out of my feelings, you know what I mean? Because I think that has a lot to do with it.
I'd like to jump in there. I think whether we're talking about the MCU, well, that's an era thing. It used to be Marvel Comics universe,
right.
Now it's Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'll start the politics right there. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
you stole my title. But I think one another, whether you're talking about the comics, you're talking about the movies, they're in parallel. And I think the same people who do or don't want it would say the same about comics or the movies. From my perspective, no matter what the subject matter is, or the politics of it, generally I don't like politics in my movies, in my comics, and in any medium I'm enjoying, only in the sense that might be why I escaped into it. Maybe I was dealing with that during the day, and something was going on with that, where I want to take a step back and I want to watch some idiot superhero do something that has nothing to do with real world matters as an escape. So I can just walk away for a minute and enjoy that. I do think politics have their place. Social matters, injustice is something that matters. But if you feel like you're being beaten over the head with the subject, or they're trying to shove it into your face, then that's probably what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think some people can handle it and take it better than others. Mm-hmm. Personally speaking, I like politics mostly out of comics, just so I can escape to the comics, to the movies.
But so like politics have always been there.
Right.
It's always been there. The difference, one of the differences is, as kids, we didn't read that much into politics.
Right.
If we were adults back in the 70s, we would probably have read them a little different. Like how we're reading them now. We're reading them adults now. So it's always been there. Like we didn't care about drugs in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
But when we did we really look at the Green Lantern, Green Arrow with Speedy with a needle in it? Like we didn't look at it as political. We just looked at it as like, oh, that was a storyline that was going on.
Right, exactly.
Right. So the way things are being force fed, that's just become a style of everything, of writing. It's just become a style, and it's almost like it was inevitable for it to happen because everything is moving so fast now that people are trying to get their point across so quick and so hard. It's not like before where the world moved at a slower pace. Like everything is like we have to get it across now because by tomorrow it's old news.
But doesn't that date your comic books though? And maybe you're less of a storyteller if you can't inject this subject matter into it and have it be timeless and meaningful.
But the thing is, the world is moving so fast now, nothing is timeless. We get music now, we listen to it for a week, and then we're tired of it next week. Like nothing, and the cars aren't even timeless. If you look at cars now, the finest car is ugly. It used to be like, oh man, look at this 1978, Cadillac. Look at the style on it. Timeless. There hasn't been a timeless car made in the last 30 years. Right? Because everything is just so being moved so quick where it's like, okay, who's designing these cars? It's not a person, it's a computer generated program, and the guy is tweaking versus the guy who actually, modeled a car. So everything is just moving so fast, and it's just become the style of everything, and we can't slow it down.
But in that vein, wouldn't that be changing what it used to be?
Oh, it's already
and what got us here?
Yeah,
and the way it used to be. I've been catching up on Defenders and just plowing through 70s, 80s Defenders, and everything in those stories is either not political or it's what subtleties are there. You can still feel and hold those values and morals today and go, no, they're onto something there, and it still rings true today.
But that's us as adults thinking, right?
But they're timeless. Whereas today, then they didn't have to shove it in your face. Today they do.
And look who was writing. Look who was writing back then. Comic nerds, comic artists. Like their mentality was like our mentality. Right? We were all at the same mentality. The people who are doing these movies, they're not our mentality.
No.
Right? I mean, it's like, look at all these new homes being built. New homes are being built out of plywood or whatever. Who's building homes out of stone and brick? No one. You have to pay for that, right? So everything's cookie cutter. And it's not really a right or wrong. It's kind of like it's the time that we're living in.
Right.
It kind of is what it is. I mean, I don't like it because, but it is what it is at this point, because you can't really slow it down. The only way you can change it is if you go the independent route. And I don't know what independent books are doing, different, Well, it's like, are we going to just jump from Marvel and DC and be like, oh, we're going to go the independent route because they write the way I like to be written for?
Well, then you got your own problems there. They only write it for 6 issues and then they move on from it. So just when it gets good, you're done.
We're just in a weird place in life in general with everything. Music, culture, movies. Everything is at an all-time, like, just really fucked up state. That we're just like, slow down, put the brakes on. I want to escape from the 9 to 5, and I just want to read the comic.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back. I know Daryl had asked. He was like an example of She-Hulk, of what she did and what was there, and see, like you talk like Valkyrie. Yeah, you're right. That was at that time, political, but at the sense also it wasn't, it didn't feel like it was being forced. Some type of message was being forced down your throat, like it is now, where it's almost like bashing, men, in the sense where a lot of comments are made where you downplay Hulk, his pain, you know what I mean? In that first episode, where she downplayed Hulk's pain, how easy it was for her, and it's like, it was just a lot. And then also, where they make those assumptions where we think a certain way, and it's like, no, we don't actually even think that way. It's just what it is it makes money. Basically, that's what it boils down to. You know what I mean? I understand this political game. It's all about money. So they're going to cater to whatever audience that is going to bring them the most views and the most noise, and I understand that. They play that game very well. They follow the money, you know what I mean? And they know what they're doing, Let me see. Hold on a second. He said a counterpoint here. Let me see what John said. Scared editors would let writers and artists push the envelope back then. Marvel editors wouldn't even publish a letter from an openly gay X-Men fan.
Right.
Because that was the times, you know what I mean? It was totally different, you know, and that is, it's not even about that. That's not even like the real argument or the debate today. It's not even about, you know, that of course we understood because there was so much going on and fear against gay people in that times. You know, you had AIDS and all, they were trying to say, you know, it came, you know, gay first it was monkeys, of course, whatever. And then gays spread it and all the shit like they try to do now with monkeypox. Let's not even get in that. You know what I mean? We already know they're trying to play the old okie doke again from the 80s with monkeypox.
But it's like, but the gay thing in the 80s,
yeah,
with the editors, is what we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
On a different, on a modern day time.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has their agenda. Everyone's going to have their agenda. If someone gets to go ahead to write this story, it is what it is. Like, because, and also people are living in fear as well. Like, imagine if someone tries to write a story and then the studios are like, oh, we can't do that. You can't touch that. Now here we have you getting dropped from the movie or the TV series, and then you backlash by writing a whole big thing saying Marvel wouldn't let me do this because they're scared of women and power and blah, blah, blah. And then now you got this whole thing, this back and forth of like, they wouldn't let someone gay direct, or they wouldn't let a woman direct, or they wouldn't let a person of color direct. Like, it would, everyone's afraid to say, no, you can't do this. Right. And it's just, it's becoming madness. It's all becoming madness at right now, you know. What are you going to do?
It saddens me to know that they're willing to cheapen a product to push an agenda over how we got to this point. You know, She-Hulk being a well-established and very well-loved character, you know, let's just use her as a canon for what we think, not what she's about.
Right.
Not, I'm, as everybody knows, I'm completely unaware of what's going on in the MCU. I couldn't tell you the last movie or show I watched. Right. So I'm definitely out of the loop here. I do remember seeing on Twitter people talking about somebody was twerking, and everybody lost their mind over. I haven't seen any videos, pictures. I don't know what's up with that.
Right.
But that's just modern. But see, that's modern, a way of connecting with this generation of people, right? Like,
that's what did I say? It's not written,
right? Because it's written for this generation.
It's not written for me, so I understand it. That's why I'm not bashing it. I'm just calling it out for what it is. Basically, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just letting y'all know what it is.
Right.
Like, let's not tippy-toe around it and act like we don't know what's going on.
Right.
You know what's going on, but I'm not saying it's. I'm just saying that's what it is.
It's not written for our generation of comic readers. It's written for this generation, and they're trying to capture people who like twerking, so they throw the twerking scene in there.
Exactly.
Whoever wrote the story, you know, like, oh, this is cool if we throw this in here. Yeah, but this has never read a She-Hulk comic book ever.
Was it played up as like it was just supposed to be quick and funny, or was it like a whole thing? Was it like a whole episode? I'm on the loop here. Now I feel like an old idiot because I don't even know what's up.
To me, the only thing that I saw that tied in to the rest of the MCU, if I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, somebody correct me, was, you know, the whole thing with the ship that came, you know, that brings them back, because everybody was saying that, oh, it brings them back to planet you know, the Planet Hulk, and that ties in that whole thing with Ragnarok, the story that he was there for 2 years, and, you know, now he has to go back, and that's pretty much the only thing I saw. Okay, that's tying in, bringing something that's gonna lead up to something in the MCU, was that, and then a lot of other things was just, you know, it's just, you know, like I said, it was. Overall, I'm watching it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm not watching it. I'm watching it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a big She-Hulk fan, so I'm watching it. You know,
someone just said the twerking scene was a after the credits joke.
Okay.
All right, John. Listen, John, you're not allowed to talk, John. I'm gonna tell you right now why you're not allowed to talk. Because you said you didn't want to come on the show, right? So you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to comment in the chat. I love you, John, but you know, if you want, I'll send you the link. You could jump on, and we could keep the whole night on going. But you're not allowed to talk, John. Okay? Put you on.
John, get on here. Get on here. Make an appearance.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's not written for us. I don't even watch the shows. I don't watch the shows.
Yeah, I do just to be able to.
If it's something that somebody's like, oh, you got to see this because it's well written, it's well directed, the storyline, everything is like, okay, cool. But like, I don't have time to dedicate to watching all these shows when I'm probably not going to like most of them from characters who shouldn't have a show anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, did I really need certain characters to have a show? No, I didn't.
No. I really think like She-Hulk really is a character I would have liked to see She-Hulk.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying,
I would like to see She-Hulk, but like who?
Like in general, like a lot of guys.
Oh yeah, a lot of these side characters. Yeah, you're like, I really don't.
Yeah, I don't need it. It's a cash grab, Yeah. And the fact that we know this, and yet we still invest time in watching to see if it's going to be a good show.
That's where I'm wondering though. Like, does it even matter if there's any kind of subject matter to these shows? Most people, the bulk of the people I see that watch these shows, these movies, and really get into them, they really don't care what happens. They just need to be a part of it, see it.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
And make sure they can connect all the dots better than somebody else can connect the dots. Yeah. And then they're the bigger fan, and that seems to be the critical component. I mean,
I'm sorry, you're right. I just want to say, every time I talk to somebody and they be like, "Oh, I'm such a fan. Like, I love the Marvel and this and that," and then you're like, "Oh, okay. So like you collect comics?" They're like, "No, I just watch the movie. I'm really into the shows." See, and you're like, "Oh, okay. So you're a fan of MCU. Like you're a fan of that universe." Like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? So it's only as far as we can have a conversation. It's like
that term fan,
right?
It's not used in the sense that we used it.
Right? You're a fan.
The word fan is just like, oh, I really, really like something,
right?
Yeah. And it's that fan before was fanatic. So I want comic posters. I want comic books. If there's a comic book character on a cereal box, I want the cereal box.
Right.
We were fanatical about certain things. Now,
not always.
I mean, not always, but
no. I'm saying to this comment.
Not
TV.
Not every show, but nowadays, I get what he's saying. Nowadays, a lot of the shows are all cash grabs, of course, especially these reality shows and all this fucking.
I was a fan of the 70s Spider-Man and Hawk shows. Like
hell yeah, that was the shit.
Were they trash? They weren't trash to me as a kid, but when you look at it as an adult, you're like, man, they weren't good.
But
they sucked because they stuck to the, they were like directly from the comic books, and they had bad art and stuff and writing, of course. Right. But but there was no like, I don't know.
There was no special effects either. Like
there was no special effects, and they weren't saying like, oh yeah, and by the way, go vote for this person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Even with the cartoons and stuff like that, it was as younger people, we had limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of try to, I'm into this thing. I want to take it in as much as possible. I was always drawn to more of the supernatural side of Marvel, the street level stuff. I wasn't into X-Men. Hey, Sheena. I wasn't big into X-Men, but I watched the cartoon because I just wanted to take in more comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wasn't a huge fan. Today, different story, but then I wasn't as interested.
Right.
But so if watching Spider-Man cartoons and all of them, Fantastic Four, all of them, you got to take in what you can. As adults, we have a little better, I'm not really so interested in that. I'm going to pass.
Right.
But I think there is a separation to what we were talking about earlier. Horror fans, I'm into horror movies. I like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and B horror movies and blah blah blah. Like, you like this genre, like this. Like, when somebody says, "Oh, I love comic books," like, what they mean is, I love comic movies.
Right.
That's what they meant to say, but it gets lumped up as comic books. No, it's not the same.
Right.
You know.
Hold on. Matt said that the 70s Spider-Man show was not from the comics. Spider-Man was always fighting normal criminals and any supervillains. You know, well, that was because of budget.
But it was
special effects. They didn't have Matt. There was no way they were gonna make Dr. Ock. You know what I'm saying?
It was
with like 50 grand and shit.
Right.
Know?
I mean, it was still a comic TV series.
Right.
Still based off of comics. You know. I mean, it just wasn't. There was no budget.
So you can even tell. The point that I say with comics is just that they kept to like with all his aspects of who he is, his storyline, like true to the comic books. You know what I mean? But as far as like characters, like they couldn't afford that, man. I wish, shit, you know. But
one more outfit for a villain, man, that would have broke the budget.
Would have broke the whole. That's the whole next 2 years gone. You know. But yeah, no, definitely, man. I mean, it's so many facets to it. You know, I think that the whole thing why I was like, oh, you know, I'm always pondering this is because of what's been going on lately. You know what I mean? We're talking about a lot of stuff in the history in the past that really didn't have this forcefulness, you know, feel to it. You know, as it is now. Yes, there's always been politics, you know what I mean? But it's politics. A lot of times it was like, you know, politics based on like struggles going on. And it wasn't, you didn't have this like kind of sense of like, you felt like this certain specific, you know, let's say party, you know what I mean? Like coming at you so hard and blatantly, you know, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to explain, you know, but to me, like when I saw a lot of stuff, like I got stuff on the wall, like the Spawn stuff with the Romney and the Obama, and you had the Spider-Man Obama, and you know, you had a lot of politics. And then of course in the 70s, a lot of Bronze and Silver Age, you had a lot of stuff that dealt with like racism and you know, a lot of stuff that dealt with just in general, you know, just stuff that was going on during time, like you said, drugs, which was a big thing, you know, with the whole Spider-Man issue, you know, and so a lot of those things. Oh, hold on. Matt said Green Goblin. Hold on, let's bring this up. It's the LOL. Green Goblin in the 70s Spider-Man show would have been sick. Oh, yeah. Not sure if they would have done that with Barry. Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, it would have been dope. Trust me. It would have been fresh, but there was
I mean, like I said, everything, we're moving at such a fast pace and everything. Yeah. World War II comics, exactly.
Yeah. What up, you got? That's the homie you got.
Right? Everything is so moving at a fast pace and being thrown down. Like look at 70s and 80s. You had to sneak to read a Playboy magazine, right? Or any porn. That's just all over Instagram now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's thrown at you in a sense.
Right.
Like it's
we've all been desensitized.
Right. We're living in an era where everything is just thrown. You know, so if we don't want it to be that means we have to take away all technology. We wouldn't be on YouTube right now. I would have never met you through Instagram.
Yep.
Right?
Hell yeah, facts.
We have to be in an analog world.
You got to take the good with the bad. You got to
that's what it is. Take the good with the bad.
Take the good with the bad.
You know, and like the homie said, like the World War II comics. World War II comics was all that. It was a time period.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, there was no superheroes. So it's like World War II comics was it. And they were basically covering what they was going on in the war or thought was going on. You know, the Nazis are bad, the Chinese are bad. Like, you know, it was like one-sided and someone was pushing the agenda.
But then you could fast forward to the 2000s.
All right. So like Daryl right here. Okay. So politics of the time was the civil rights movement, and to be a much lesser degree women's lib.
Yes.
These shows are just reflections of politics today.
Yes, 100%. 100%. There was a Batman storyline with like 3 issues or whatever that was all women's lib.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah, that was just the time of what it was. Like, can you imagine how men felt back then when they read that women's lib issue with the Batman?
Mm-hmm.
I see it, the way they talk to Valkyrie in early Defenders issues. You know, here's this you know, positive, strong female, and who the hell wasn't Doctor Strange? It wasn't Hulk. Who the hell was it? I don't remember who was talking to her. Somebody was basically downplaying her abilities, and she's this unstoppable force. And the way they kept it level was, this guy just made himself look like an idiot because she's this badass character, and she's gonna win. And then she just does. She just does. Mm-hmm. She didn't need to explain it. She didn't need to beat you over the head with it. She just whoops ass, and you're left going, she whoops ass. Like, women can do it too. And it was subtle, and it left, I don't know, for me, it left the right impression.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Don't count them out because you're probably wrong. Right. And I loved how subtle that was snuck in there.
Yo, hey, Morb, put up Rican Comics quote about the Green Lantern.
Yeah, I was about to put that up. Yeah. So just to think this Twitter existed when the black guys gave Green Lantern the lecture of helping the blue and green alien, but not the brown humans.
No.
I mean, now imagine that happening today. Do you know what type of backlash?
Yeah, it would be crazy.
That would really cause.
Yep.
No.
Had there been social media when that story was written, it would have blew up.
Yeah.
It would have been a problem. But there was no social media, so nobody was. I'm sure a handful of people would have probably thought into it, but it didn't go widespread. Now it would have been like, oh man, that's racism right there. That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's the time. It's the good with the bad in a sense.
But it does make you think, even then. If you look at it in a certain way, that was our social media. That was ways to put ideas and thoughts out there. And you could do whatever you wanted with it. If you wanted to be stubborn and say, no, I'm stuck in my ways, I can't think a new way, or I can't think for myself, then you could just stick with that. Or you could say, wow, I never saw that perspective.
But you would have said it in your bedroom.
Exactly.
Not online. And that's
it's even better because you're left with those thoughts.
Right.
You have to process those thoughts.
The good and the bad. If there was no social media, you would have been in your bedroom, you would have read it and said, I'm not reading this anymore. Now it's like, I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to complain to everybody why I read that issue and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. And that just, speaks for itself, the fact that social media really changed the world. You know what I mean? And, but it changed the world as far as us communicating, but not for what it is.
Right.
And I think that's something we need to look at that perspective as well. You know what I mean? A lot of things still exist. There's still a lot. There was just as much as a lot of racism in the comic books and, before even that, so let's just say, what if the internet was when Superman first came out? You know what I mean? How racist Superman was in just his first, few issues that he came out. The same thing. At that time, obviously, it was different. You know what I mean? People would have been fucking praising him and shit.
Right.
Right. It would have been total because of the way society was and who was the majority at that time. So you look at a lot of things in the internet. If you inject it in different timelines, man, it would just pretty much be a lot of the same shit, but just either you're in the middle, or it would be more polarized on this end or more polarized on this end.
Just imagine what you think it's going to be in 10 years.
Right.
We're going to have this conversation and talk about how fucked up things are in 10 years. And we're like, damn, I guess it wasn't that bad 10 years before. Now, you know what I'm saying? It's like, as a DJ, I look at music and I'm like, man, that shit was trash. But now, when I look at the early 2000s, I'm like, man, it wasn't as bad as what it was. Now this is trash.
We were just having that discussion right before.
It's worse than what it is now, right?
Right, exactly. And we got Journals Comics up in here. Gender, race should not be equated to politics. Having diverse characters is not political. Yes, it is, but simply a reflection of the real world around us. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the way I see it. You know what I mean? That's not my thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to put it all in one big pot, because it is political. When you have politics talking about it, it is political. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you have political parties that are writing behind gender and race, it is political now because you're using it as a political tool. So now I'm going to put in that political box. You know what I'm saying? In Journals, I have asked you many a times to come on the show, you know what I'm saying, and speak, but you not coming on the show. So, but you want to jump in the chat, bro, just come on the show. Let's talk about it. Let's go live off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it, bro.
If it wasn't,
you know
if there weren't political agendas, then it wouldn't be. If it was just something that was like in your neighborhood, then it wasn't political. But the fact that there are parties pushing the agendas on certain things, or bills being right, like the anti-gay bashing bills and stuff like it's political.
You know, you're not. I'm not. No, we're not gonna do that today. We're gonna set that up so we could do it right, homie. I'm gonna shoot you. I already shot you the link many a times. You know what I mean? I shot you the links, journals. Don't let me pull the receipts out. All right, I shot you the links, bro. Don't you coming at me real wrong, homie. So yeah, exactly. I shot you the link so you could come on correctly. We do it right because I only got half an hour. My show is not gonna switch up because you want to come on, homie. Now all of a sudden, all right, that's not happening over here. You got me confused with all these other clowns. All right, I ain't him. All right, so I'm gonna shoot you the link so we could set up a time and date so we could come on for the full hour and we could discuss whatever it is that you feel you want to discuss. We could discuss the same topic, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But let's not act brand new here trying to show out. You know what I'm saying? Because I got them DM receipts when you couldn't come on, all right? So relax with that. You know what I'm saying? This is my show, homie. Relax with that.
Yo, but I mean, straight up, like it is at this point, it is what it is. Politics will always be a part of everything.
Oh yeah, man. All this shit has been weaponized, you know what I mean? Through politics.
Day-to-day life, everything will be politics.
You know, how can you not say?
I mean, the simplest thing, the prices of food at the supermarket has gone up. Political.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because you may agree or disagree.
Right. No matter what it is, it's all political. If there's money involved, it's political. Because somebody got paid to do something or whatever. Like it's all political. It's just how you're going to deal with it. Right. And that's an individual choice how you're going to deal with it. If you know the MCU is not for you, don't watch it. If you want to just be curious, then be curious. You know, but like we're just in that point now where we have options. We didn't have options 30 years ago. We had you know 3 TV stations and you know we had to go rent from Blockbuster. There was no streaming.
Facts.
We have options now. So if there's something we don't like, if there's a title we don't like, you know, switch it up. You know, maybe go find you know, and 100 issues down the line, be like, oh man, I love the art, I love the story, the writing, whatever. Great. But we have options now.
Yeah. That's what changed it up.
I do come back to the point though of politicizing things and how they deliver it. You know, I hear what you're saying, Skeme, but I do feel like there's a way to inject a political view, leave it open to interpretation, and not cheapen it, and leave it long lasting. Make an impact and say, hey, you know, these people write for a living. Their job is to write. They should be 10 times better than me at figuring out a way to sculpt that thought and feeling with that they wanted to convey, whether it be political or satire or whatever, and be able to make that long-lasting impression on somebody so they could walk away going, maybe I've been thinking about this all wrong.
But you do realize that's the style of writing today from people who are living today. Right? They're not living 30 years ago. 30 years ago, that was the style.
Yeah.
Some of the most intelligent people got on social media and got stupid. Writers included. Like social media made everybody dumb who used to be intelligent. So a lot of those writers probably 30 years ago would have written with some sense.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, my counterpart is doing it this way and they're selling. People aren't thinking for themselves. I agree 110% with you.
It just, I don't know, there's been a handful of instances in the books I'm reading where I can't get past this subject matter because you made it abundantly clear that's all this is about. And then the whole battle that's going to take place afterwards,
right?
It's just fluff. That was just, you know, it was pointless. Like
I agree. I agree 110%.
You know, one thing I've really enjoyed and I've loved is Marvel Voices. You know what you're buying. You know exactly what you're buying right there on the cover. It is bold, and you know. I just picked up. It's not even out yet. Comes out tomorrow. The new Marvel Voices Community. You know, all about Spanish heritage and Latino heritage. It's fantastic seeing somebody else's view, but I bought this knowing what I'm going to find in here, or at least an idea of what I think I'm going to find in here. And they can show me a worldview that I might, you know, as just a white guy, there might be some perspective in here I haven't thought of because I don't live it. I don't understand it. But I bought this knowing that there could be some political views involved in this. When I bought this, I expected some nonsense ass story about Peter Parker dealing with some BS problems as usual. I don't want to know what he thinks about the next election. I don't want to know what he thinks about racism or sexual orientation. I just want to know what stupid villain is going to show up and cause some problems for him today.
Right. Now, when you read that Marvel Voices, you read the Marvel Voices, so?
I've read most of them.
All right. Now, what's your take on it? Like, what did you get out of that? You know,
I'll be honest.
Honestly, I'm asking you honestly for a reason.
Not too much. I'll be honest. It felt most of them feel like a lost opportunity. I haven't read one that really changed my view. And I'm not trying to call myself worldly, but I try to think of myself as a pretty open person and that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, just open to other people's lifestyles. Like I don't need to be better, below, you know, can't we all just get along? But there's little things, you know, foods people eat, the way they go about their business, the way they think of family, and how important it is to their culture. Little things like that. That fascinates me and makes me go, wow, we could all use a little bit of that. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, like, to me, to be honest, like, you know, I always see it all the time, and it's like every other race other than the race that is about, you know what I'm saying? Most of the time is like, it's bigging it up more than who the race is actually about. Like, let's say like that Marvel Voices, like I read it, you know, digitally, never picked it up. After I read it, I was like, you know, it just didn't resonate with me. It wasn't,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was just more like, okay. Like a little bit, you know, of reach, but somebody who's not Latino, I guess, and they feel like, oh, you know, it's a voice for Latino, and of course I back Latino, so I'm gonna voice this and say this is dope. But a lot of times I'm noticing a lot of stuff that when that happens, like people are like, you know, when you go back to the actual culture that is being represented, they're like, You
know what? I think it's one of those things where it's because when you live something every day, other people are more excited about it
exactly
than you're excited about it. So we can't really look.
Well, it's not even about that. It's the way we're represented.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what more is where I'm leaning towards. You know what I mean? It's the representation of it.
Right.
You know, a lot of times the way we're represented, like we're being bigged up, but the way we're represented, you know what I mean, is where the question comes in lies. Like, are we being well represented? You know what I mean? Is this something that is, you know, really reflecting who we are, you know, as a whole, and not something that's individualized and like, you know, polarized.
But I think that's hard to do.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's because when you're talking about a group or a race of people, right? There's not one group of race of people that are on the same page.
Right.
Like right now, like you got people that's like, yo, I'm Latin, and then you got I'm Latinx, and I'm this.
Right.
And it's like, well, what the fuck is the difference? And then you're like, well, Latinx is so and so, and then you know, it's like, and then you're like, well, wait a minute. So Latinx is a new generation term. Like that's a new term that didn't exist.
Right.
So
when you speak with the homies, and then you got like, nah, I'm more and shit. I'm Israeli. It's I'm not African.
They're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. Somebody's going to be happy. It's like not all people can be fucking satisfied at once. Like no one's ever on the same page. You want this for dinner, your wife wants that, and the kids want something else, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like no one's ever on the same page or happy at the same time, unless you win a Super Bowl or a championship. Then everybody's happy.
Oh, see, like look at what Geek Dragon said right here. Is that pandering? With Kamala Khan. That's another good question there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could go both ways. Depending, because you have people who see it, of the culture, and they're like, man, we're being represented finally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And if someone deeper could be like, yeah.
Someone who really looks deeper, right? Like you just said, even from the same culture, will be like, nah.
Right.
And that's what happens. I think that happens a lot.
Do you think there's?
So
I was going to say, do you think there's what we should point out is representation in image and representation as a culture? Representation as a culture isn't necessarily the best thing, only because everybody's individual.
Yep.
The three of us here represent three different races, yet if you put a pile of comic books in front of the three of us sitting at a table, we're all going to reach for them. We're all going to do the same exact thing, but visually we're not the same people. But representation, seeing someone who looks like you, personally speaking, I tend to veer away from Kamala Khan books, not because of her visual representation, because she always comes off as a whiny kid. Now,
that's another show that I don't think it was tailored for like really adults. I think it was more for like younger audience. You know what I mean? The teens. 20. I think that was more tailored for that audience based on the way the show was written, and everything that was just pretty much
Yeah, I think the visual representation
looks like something that was. I think what I mean. That was really tailored for that.
I think the visual representation is critical. It's absolutely important for someone to see themselves in, wow, oh, all right, I'm up there too. I'm on the board. Like I matter. That's important. But then does that character resonate with you?
Hell yeah. I think Luke Cage. Hell yeah.
It was pandering, but then but I didn't see it as pandering back then.
Well, we didn't see it back then. Why? Because we're kids. We don't. But I'm pretty sure the dudes that were running in the Black Panther group.
Well, but see, they might have been, but someone's black dad probably wasn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So depending on the way you politically, know what I'm saying, how much information you have in your head, you're gonna be like, oh, because that's what I say. Yo, you only know as much as you understand as much as you know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's only so much you're gonna understand based on how much knowledge you have pertaining to that information. So a lot of times that's why you can't really have a discussion with a lot of people, because they haven't educated themselves enough on that topic, on a to have enough understanding and knowledge to be able to have an actual grasp on what you're saying. And that's crucial. You know what I'm saying? You are what you know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's basically, I said that shit since I was 14, yo. You are what you know.
Yo, in reference to Sove talking about like the comics on the table and everybody grabbing for it. I'm grabbing for those Ghost Riders because you don't deserve them anymore.
Man, y'all got enough Ghost Rider. I need some Ghost Rider in my life.
Yo, I'm all done. Actually, I just picked up a Marvel Spotlight #9 Mark Jewelers copy. So it's getting smaller and smaller. Go for it. Go for it. What I'm looking for.
Man, man. But definitely, like, I think that once again, these are topics that, we need to talk about. You know, and really have that discussion and just, and not feel afraid to say what the hell you feel and just say that shit and be like, yo, this is what it is. Obviously not everything is that. I think right now, everybody feels like, even here in the chat, y'all feel that whatever y'all thinking is 100% fact, 100%. And everything we know, we don't know. Y'all got to understand that. Every day we're learning shit. Every day we're trying to decipher this shit. So we cannot sit here and sit on our pedestal and think that we got it all figured out. We don't got this shit all figured out. That's why we have these discussions. And a lot of times I sit here and somebody will say something, I'll be like, oh shit, didn't see it that way. Right. You know what I mean? But the problem is that a lot of us, what we do, we just sit we get stubborn and we're like, no, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels good to be, how can I say, to feel right. You know what I mean? When you know that you feel right, you're like, I'm right. You know what I mean? But that a lot of times it's a fucking illusion. It's like, and it's hard for people to admit that. I don't. You know what I'm saying? That's why I have a show where we could come on and talk about it. And I'll admit if I can't. Right.
I have a show where my Ghost Rider collection is cleaner than so.
Man,
try me.
Oh no, I don't think you could.
Try me.
You're reaching there, brother. You're reaching. But yeah, man.
I show up here every Tuesday for exactly what you're talking about, though, to be enlightened. Now, maybe I'm going to sit here on a Tuesday night and hear a couple people talking and go, "Yep, no, this is an echo chamber. I 100% agree on what you're saying, and clearly we're right."
Right.
But then every once in a while, somebody says something, and I go, "No shit, I didn't think of that."
I didn't think of that.
I would rather be open-minded, walk away enlightened, just knowing something new today.
Right.
Feeling a little different. Right. And I'm happy to be wrong.
Right.
I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm happy to learn. Hey, I might be wrong, or I don't understand this. Let me learn about that.
But that makes you a wiser and more well-rounded person.
Yep.
The person who can admit defeat will win later on in life, because he's like, yo, I didn't have all the answers.
Right.
Right. Now I have the answer. Just like that video of Kanye saying like Sway was right, and he's admitting it.
Right. It's tough, man. It's not easy, but it makes you a better. It sounds cliche, but it really does make you better as a person, because you start to program yourself to be able to adjust at any moment.
Right.
You don't just get stuck in a certain way. You are able to adjust. And when you're not able to learn and and expand on whatever it is that you're thinking, or no longer find any use for it because it has no more understanding to you, it doesn't compute with you. You're just like, based on all this new information, this shit don't make sense anymore. I'm out of here, and I'm able to push that out.
But then you're just missing out.
Right. A lot of times, these thoughts and opinions become beliefs in religion. You know what I mean? It's just, y'all got to be careful, man. Y'all can't get stuck in a certain way just because the majority is screaming it, or political party. Yes, I'm going to say it. This shit is fucking politicized, man. Everything today is politicized.
Everything.
Everything is, not just gender, race, everything, man. And the fact that to ignore it and act like the elephant is not in the room is crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't live my life like that. You know what I'm saying? I wear my heart on my sleeve. So if I see it, I'm going to call it out. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. And I think that we need that shit. You know what I mean? Because that kind of mentality is why we able to do, or a lot of these genders and races are able to do what they're able to do, because somebody was out there saying this shit don't make sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? This shit ain't right. And that's what the fuck we need. And I think that right now, Sway was right. Sway was right. That's the lead off right there. Sway was right, bro. You know what I'm saying?
But once again, it all comes back down to, this is the world we're living in. Take the good with the bad. Do what you need to do to bob and weave and keep it moving. Because nothing is changing. It's not going to change for the way that we want it to change. Yeah. Right? Because who's writing comics today? A person of today.
Yeah.
Right? A comic writer of the 70s is not still writing. And if he is, it's like, how good really is the stories?
Well, actually, there's been an example of that. Who just Chris Claremont on Gambit.
Okay, I mean, he
and it's just not that good.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Well, you're either going to get him, or you're going to get someone of today.
Yeah.
Writing of today, far from a fantasy world of what it was in the 70s, right? In the 80s. They're going to be writing from today. The average, I don't even know what the average age of a writer is today.
Man, that's a good question.
That's good.
I'm gonna look that shit up.
Because I'm probably the average age of a writer of a comic is what, 30s to 40, and in a sense, like late 20s to 35, 37. They're a product of today.
Yeah.
They're not a product of the crack era. They're not a product of the civil rights era. They're not a problem of World War II.
Disco era.
War. Yeah, they're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not a product of the Vietnam War era. They're a product of I have cable, I have internet, I have cell phones, I have, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no struggle.
No.
You're not gonna persuade Paul, bro. You're not persuading Paul. There's no persuading my dude. You're not persuading my dude. That's not happening. That's not happening. And you're not persuading Professor also. You're not persuading the Professor. Son, we're gonna keep coming back. We love you, modern guys. Salute to you. I appreciate you guys, what you're doing for the new readers and those who still follow and still collect y'all, but you're not stopping that.
I'll tell you what. I mean, there's some great books in the past, and there's some great books of today. I go back and forth. Actually, what my favorite is funny. Now, I don't. I'm not fully aware what's going on with She-Hulk, like with the TV show. All I heard was the twerk thing, but I can say this: the gal who's writing She-Hulk, the book today. If you're not reading it, you're missing out. One of the very best books on the shelf. If you were to ask me what's the best book on the shelf today, that's what I would say. It would be the first one that comes to mind. Absolutely killing it. I don't know how old she is. I'm making the assumption she's a younger gal. But she's doing a fantastic job of everything I was talking about, with just not hitting you over the head with political views, just sharing some ideas and keeping it at a level where you can digest it and go, she's right though. You can't argue with her because she's right. But it's a crying shame if something like she's writing is not in that television show.
But you see what you just said? You just said all you know about the television show is the twerking.
Yeah.
That's the problem with social media, because that went viral.
Yeah.
Which made you and everybody else be like, man, I'm not watching that show.
No.
It could actually have good writing. Probably doesn't, but it could actually have that we all know that twerking is the reason why we won't even give this show a chance, because already we're turned off.
And that's why that's what it is. It's we're talking about it because of social media and the memes and the whole everything we were talking about throughout the show is exactly why
it's all one
discussing this.
It's a vicious cycle. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I probably would have watched it. Maybe not, but I probably would have. But since the twerk thing, I was like, I'm not watching that trash.
Well, actually, I do want to. I know one other thing about the show. I know one other fact, and
no. That's another thing. Let's not forget about that. The way they fucking hacked these guys, like destroyed it. You know what I mean? Let's talk about that. That was so bad. Like, I know all the Wrecking Crew fans were like losing their shit. Even I was
I don't even want to know. I don't know.
I was like, yo, what the fuck is this?
You got to get to
I was like, they even fucked that up. Like, I would at least took another 3-4 episodes of y'all fucking, doing your little fucking, political agenda stabs. I would have put up with it a little bit more if y'all would have really killed the fucking Wrecking Crew. You know what I'm saying? Like, but come on, bro.
They came and went just like that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like people don't know how to write long. Like,
yo, bro, hold on. Professor said whitewash it. Yo, hold on a second. We whitewash it. How far you want to go back, my dude? Like, how far you want to go back?
I mean, because that's a
whole nother fucking like John told me, can of worms, son. That's a whole nother can of worms right there.
I'd like to get involved in that episode just so I can trash talk Jason Aaron for whitewashing Robbie Reyes. I'll talk about that, bro. I'll talk about specifically just that for 4 hours.
Fuck that. We could take it back to the motherfucking, you know what I'm saying? The dark ages, nigga. We could go back to the churches. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to talk about whitewashing? Don't let me pull out my lessons, son. I'm 5%er, son. Israelite. You know what I'm saying? I'll pull out my lessons on y'all.
Yeah, but
no. But yeah, go ahead,
that's what we're dealing with. Like we're dealing with that, and there's no way around it. What are you gonna do? You know, that's a 3-part episode. Exactly. 5 parts.
That's more like 5 parts. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, this is the era we're living in.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I mean, and kind of that's how I live my life. Like, oh shit, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like if it's not affecting me, then I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. Everybody's gonna waste your 60 minutes.
See, right there, what you said, I totally disagree with it. Like I'm the total opposite.
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm the total opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at that shit and I take it personal.
Right. But my thing is, are you going to write in the fucking Stan soapbox and talk about how bad you hate it? No.
This is my soapbox, right?
but that's what I'm saying. If you're not going to write in the Stan soapbox, like you got to write to Marvel. You got to write to the writer. Right. You got to write. Right. If people aren't going to do that and say, "Yo, we're not having this," then it's just a conversation amongst men and women here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, so even that's debatable what you just said nowadays. So,
but like, I have no control over this show. It's like if I'm not going to take my time to write to them and be like, "Yo, this is fucked up. I can't believe you did that," and they're gonna be like, "Who the fuck are you?" If a million people write, and a million people say, "I'm canceling my Disney subscription," now we got to change.
Yeah, man. And I think that right now it's definitely a lot of changes going on in the world. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. And that's why we're having the conversation that we're having, you know, because of all the changes that are going on and everything that is being, you know, put down the pipeline right now, basically. And guys, man, I hope y'all be safe out there. Be good, be conscious, be aware of your surroundings, of what's going on. And yeah, man, you know what I mean? Make sure y'all stay in your research, stay in your studies, you know what I mean? Because that's important. Stay out your feelings. That's number one. Stick to facts. Stick to what is true, because your feelings don't matter. It don't mean shit when it comes to the truth. You know what I mean? Not your truth, the actual truth, the facts. You know what I'm saying? Because people say, "Oh, that's my truth," and it's like, "Yo, your truth don't fucking mean shit to me. Like my truth don't mean shit to nothing." You know what I'm saying? That's why I deal with facts. You know what I'm saying? 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. You know what I'm saying? Not 5. So, and a lot of people.
My collection is better than Sove's. Fact.
Nah, man, we got to keep it 100 over here, man. We got to keep it true. Once again, Sove, appreciate you, brother, for coming on, man. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Skeme, you already know. You know what I'm saying? We stay digging.
My man, always representing.
I gotta get that.
As a matter of fact, I gotta get another one because this one is like starting to fade out.
So it's mine. I need to.
Yeah, I'm like washing it so much because I wear it all the time. I'm just like, I gotta get a new one. But yeah, the chat, appreciate everybody that came through. Appreciate y'all for real. You already know we always keep it 100 here. Ain't no holding back, no pulling punches. You know what I'm saying? So once again, see y'all next week for another great and triggering topic. Y'all already know. Enjoy the rest of y'all night, and we is out. Peace.